Welcome to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Every week, you can have the conversations you've always wanted to have about the films you love.
Shut up!
We're gonna get you. Not another peep.
Get rid of your distractions and prepare yourself.
Then lock your door. 5, 6, gonna crucifix.
You got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
Welcome, everybody, to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Danny Bonin here with you.
And Scotty Bonin here with you.
We are the Blood Brothers. And today we have a very special guest on the podcast. I want to welcome Patty McCormack, who you will soon see on the new Lifetime movie, The Bad Seed, coming out. Hello, Patty. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Danny, and
Scotty.
nice to know that you have. Yes, it's nice to know that you and your brother do something together. That's very cool.
Yeah, we're actually twins, but we don't look alike. So
No kidding.
yeah, so we better get along.
Wow.
Fraternal twins.
Oh, you better. You have no choice. You have no choice.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us today. We're mainly going to be talking about your new film coming out, The Bad Seed, which this is a very interesting situation. For those of you listening that don't know, Patty was in the original version of The Bad Seed back in, 1956?
1956, yeah. And she played the bad seed, Rhoda Penmark.
Yes.
Right.
And now we've come full circle and having a re-release.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Here we are.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, gosh, if I may ask, how old were you when you played that part in 1956?
Well, I was, according to it's on IMDb,
Of
so
course.
it's no secret. But
Yes.
but I turned probably 11 in 1956. But I believe we shot the film when I was still 10.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Pretty sure.
And now that's I
did it before. I did it on Broadway.
Oh, before the
that's
film.
right, because there was the play before
Yep.
the film. That's right.
Yep. But the thing that everyone really remembers is the film. Directed by Mervyn LeRoy and shot at Warner's.
Yes.
And
Yep,
how
Warner
and
Brothers.
how long were you doing it on Broadway before they decided to go ahead and make a film of it?
All together, probably with the time we spent on the road, and probably a year.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
it was in your life probably starting at 9 years old and into 10 and possibly 11.
Yep.
Was the Broadway play a lot different from the movie? Like, was there a lot added to the 1956 movie from what the play was? Yeah.
The main thing that changed was the ending.
Okay.
Because there was a code back then that I'm going to forget the name of the code. Doesn't matter, but where the murderer had to be punished.
Yes.
So the very scary part of the film, of the play, was the fact that I lived and everyone who knew died. That was the flip,
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the end, the film, the mom lives, and I am on the wharf, and I die. So
yes. You get struck by lightning.
Different. Yep.
That's right.
Yeah. And so now I know that 9 to 11 years old. I have trouble recalling memories from that time. Is this still
Really,
sort of vivid in your head, or because it was such an experience?
Oh yes, it was a big experience, and when I first met Rob, we talked about playing a character. I'm just telling you that it was so important.
Mm-hmm.
Through the years, I connected strangely enough, so deeply with this character.
Yeah.
that it, and how
That's
you
scary.
feel almost protective of it. And, it's really strange, but as though it were a member of my family, It was,
Yeah.
So it was, first of all, it was a lot of fun doing the film way back. Lots of, good times at Warner Brothers. Mervyn Laura gave me a bicycle to ride on the lot.
Oh, that's great.
So cool.
And most of us knew each other because they took about 6 of us, I think it was, from the cast.
Mm-hmm.
So we had done it before together. And it was
Oh, okay. That's nice.
yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah.
And but when this came up now, with the new one, I loved that it was so different too.
Yeah,
that
it is different.
So much
brought
different.
it into, really, and that was fun.
And that was going to be one of my questions: is that were you happy with the changes made, and they went over fine with you?
Oh yeah, I loved the fact that I was able to come back to it, but not as any of the people I remember.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Because they were all so good, and I thought I'd have them in my head somehow, and I wouldn't be able to shake them. The good
Yep.
performances that were done.
Yep.
So it was fun to be a different person altogether.
Oh, I'm sure. Sort of an outsider
that.
looking in on the situation this time around.
Yeah.
And now, when this originally came out in '56, and being just turned 11 years old, were people recoiling in fear from you when you would talk to them or meet them for the first time?
Some people really did seem to be afraid of me. That's true.
Wow.
I don't know. It always struck me funny, but I did have that experience both after the theater a performance where people would line up by the stage door, and even just in the market out here, walking around with my mother, they'd say, did you ever want to kill anyone, or something like that.
Were you still wearing like the blonde pigtails out in public?
I wore them for I wore them for a long time.
Gosh.
Yeah, they stuck on. I thought they were just things growing out of my body by that point.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and
Oh, that's
I was looking forward to cutting my hair.
Oh,
Yeah.
I bet you were.
Yeah.
Now right after this, it didn't slow you down though. It seems. You have credits in 57, 58. Right. So a lot of people say that they'll play a part like this and they get typecast and it's tough for them to move on. But you didn't have any trouble, it seems.
Yeah. What was odd about the whole story and everything was that it was so out of step with what was going on at the time. It was very unique to the time. Sure. So I think that I couldn't get typecast because there weren't other parts like that. They had, I played other parts like cuter, angry people, but nothing really seriously bad.
Sure.
It was such an odd one until later on with I think The Omen or, those kind of films, but they came way later. So I never got typecast.
Wow.
I did a series. I did. I'm trying to think of The Miracle Worker, playing Helen Keller on TV. Things like that. So that my roles were really varied for a child.
Wow.
Well, this is great too because
Pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Well, and you're right about there not being anything like it back then. A lot of these original, especially this one being 1956, was a real shocker then. Not to say that the one coming out soon here on Lifetime isn't a good film and brings some new elements to the table, but it's tough these days to bring any kind of shock factor to these horror audiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But back then.
Yes, but I think that the take on it is really scary because it's in present time. Mm-hmm. So you're going to enjoy that. The fact that in the headlines there are things about kids with no conscience and, So it almost brings home. It'll bring home to a new generation, I think.
No, and I think they definitely do a good job of fitting it into to today. And I like,
for sure.
You know, we don't want to give away too much to the listeners, but I do like some of the dynamics that they bring in. Whereas it's sort of this babysitter instead of the mom, and it's sort of it's I think it fits better this day and age.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was totally flipped on me because you see so much. I mean, it's you and the mom in the original. It's just, I mean, you guys are like the main characters. Nancy Kelly,
true.
and the new one. It's totally flipped. It's the babysitter.
Do you know?
Then you get the dad there too.
I wonder how much, and I don't know if you know this or not, but how did Rob Lowe have much to do with the actual screenplay and making some of those changes, or was that just all in the writer's mind?
I don't know the answer to, but he was definitely hands-on when I worked. He was very hands-on in the point of view of it. You know what? So I would imagine that they must have had a lot of meetings and changes as they went. That's really common.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
To tweak things or whatever they say.
Sure. Well, and they all must have been excited. I mean, I would be to have you as part of the project, just on set there, as part of the original vision of it. You know.
That's really nice. Thank you.
Well, no, and really, and I mean, you're pretty much a veteran. I mean, if anyone wants to go scroll down Patty's IMDb, I mean, there's pretty much every TV series under the sun you've been a part of in here. So
it's odd. We were talking about that. How strange it is to have. I started doing radio. You know, when I was a little person, and and then the last thing I did was web series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, it's run the gamut of all the the new stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, because the web wasn't around back then.
Very odd.
It's so cool. It's full circle.
I mean,
again.
there are some really memorable. Do you have just a couple? I know it's tough to choose. Do you have a few of these that were just awesome experiences to be a part of? I mean, I know you're on Magnum PI. You've been on NYPD. I mean, Baywatch, a ton of them. ER, even.
All those, yeah. You mean just a memory in general?
Yeah. Is there any of them that really stand out to you at all? That really stick out? Yeah.
Connected to Dad Seed, or just?
No, it doesn't really have to be. Just as part of your career.
No. Just each. I hate to be bland about this answer, but I swear each job had something positive in it.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have a good memory of it and whatever. Some of the things that I remember are not connected to the actual working, but what resulted in experiences that I would never have had. And I flash on coming up again. Soon in November. A lot of kids today don't even know the stuff about Kennedy. They don't really. That's not the memory of a Technicolor death. It would be more Princess Diana or,
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a chance to meet him because I was on the road publicizing something.
Sure.
And he was, so that's something I cherish, that memory of meeting him, shaking hands with him. And he was cutting a ribbon to start his campaign in some state, and I don't even remember which one, but it was, and I know I have a photograph of it somewhere.
That's amazing.
And that's something crazy, to have happen. And so things like that in life, that come from the work.
Yes.
That's a highlight that I remember right now.
Oh,
anyway,
gosh,
there are many. There are many.
I have to ask about.
Great.
I just
awesome.
scrolled upon this. I have to ask about this for the fans' sake here of the show.
Okay.
You were in an episode of Freddy's Nightmares. Wow.
Yes. Isn't that great?
Yeah, no, those were
Is that a TV show?
Yeah, I mean, Freddy's Nightmares
That's right.
was a short TV series they did, obviously after the popularity of the movies, and wow, I mean, how was working on that?
It was wonderful. It was wonderful, and he's spectacular. And people would explain, he was a Shakespearean actor.
Yeah, Robert Englund's amazing.
Robert Englund.
Yeah.
How was
Robert
working
Englund.
with Robert Englund? That's awesome.
A nice guy, right?
Yes, totally. Very classy guy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't it funny?
Yeah, I see a lot of.
I'm glad about that.
Yeah, no, I see a lot of little gems here that our horror community would appreciate. I even see some Supernatural there, and
Yes.
Stand Against Evil as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gosh.
Dana Gould. Yep.
Yeah. Did you get to work across from John C. McGinley on that one at all?
I did. I didn't actually. We were in the scene together, and it was my demise. So he was. He was there because
Sure. Wow.
Was it Janet Varney? I think is the woman was the lead on that show.
Yeah, it is.
Who was wonderful. They're all funny.
It is.
People.
Yep, Janet Varney.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that.
Well,
a lot of fun.
What an experience. Yeah, I was just picking out some gems here, but wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
That's great. So I just want to rewind again back to after Bad Seed comes out. We talked about how it didn't really pigeonhole you at all, which is a good thing. But do you feel that part or that was sort of a defining aspect of your career, at least maybe for the next, I don't know, 15, 20 years after that?
Yes, it seemed to go in and out of almost fashion in a funny way because there was a great period of time back then where you didn't talk about your jobs before, especially if they were, special and touted, because you could be considered a has-been.
Sure.
So that was a big word back then. So now everybody honors your history, So, and I don't know if it's because of the technology and, people can Google everything and they think, oh my God, that person did that,
Yeah.
So there was a great period of time where I didn't really talk about it too much and people didn't consider it very much, but that is gone, long gone. And,
That's great.
In the recent years, it's just incorporated into the body of work, not excluded.
Well, and I think you're completely right on how that change happened because, if you think about it back then, it wasn't real easy to just bring up the movie again and watch it. Whereas nowadays, the content is so available that
Isn't it something?
You could be this age,
Stream
but
it.
your
You
biggest
can find
fan may love you because of the Bad Seed back in '56.
I just went on Amazon and just watched it just before this interview, and it was just so easy to get.
you?
Yep, I did.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's great.
Well, do you still get?
It is crazy.
Do you get people that talk to you today, and that's the first thing they bring up is the '56 version of the Bad Seed?
Absolutely,
I bet.
absolutely true.
Wow.
Well, you were so great in it.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was such a great job. I mean, I just watched it like right before this, and you had so much dialogue. It seemed like back in the day, back in the 50s, 60s, there was more like dialogue than you see in movies today.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot
That's
more.
true.
And you had a lot to memorize.
Yes, a lot to memorize and easy as pie when you're little.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It
Your
sticks
memory
better.
is so good.
How did you now, as a young girl at that age? How did you get started in the business at all? Were you initially doing community theater plays or school plays, and then worked your way up, or how did that happen?
I started very, very young because I had an aunt that took me to a baby contest
Okay.
at a hotel with my mother, and I had to be 4, something like that.
Yeah.
And so the short version is I won the contest, and then the contest prize was a contract with a modeling agency, and then from that, at the same time, I had a speech impediment, a very, very heavy lisp.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And so my mother got the name of somebody from those people for kid actors, to go and try to get rid of it. And that woman, I studied with this person for the speech therapy, and then she knew about the business. So everything was sort of accidental, and she heard about a part that was being cast, a Broadway show, and she sent me over there, and I got that.
Jeez.
So it was, just one thing after another, strangely.
Yeah.
And then there were so many shows on in New York at that time, like live TV shows, Perry Como, and, all of those.
Yeah.
And I would do little skits on shows like that. Like there'd be a child walking across the stage bouncing a ball,
Yeah.
and that would be me. That was
Wow.
So.
And were you living in New York, or were you born in New York?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow, right in the epicenter of it.
That is so, yes, you're right in the middle of all the Broadway happenings and big TV shows and stuff.
No, that's an interesting story. And so basically you were the cutest baby around.
Yeah.
I I hope so.
And then you were born with that bright blonde hair, right? Of course.
Yes, I really had. That was truly mine back then. Seriously,
Yeah, I bet.
I was born, but it didn't last long. So
Yeah.
by the time, as is true, but when I began Bad Seed, I'm sure I wasn't bleached, but then they started bleaching my hair. So what you see of those bright blonde braids,
Yeah.
wasn't natural.
So you had to? Did you audition for the Bad Seed for the actual play then? And
I did.
And then you probably, I bet a numerous amount of girls auditioned for it, and you just fit the part the best.
I guess,
so cool.
We auditioned in the theater, and it was with the director, and I always remember his name, Reginald Denham. Oh, wow. And then Nancy Kelly was the person reading with the kids,
Okay.
And so, it's just a regular theater audition. And
Wow.
Was most, or if not all, of the people in the play, were they also in the movie too? Like
you
Nancy
said
Kelly
six.
was?
You said
yeah,
six
you said
of them,
six.
right?
Okay.
yeah, quite a few of them. Some of them, the grandfather was not the same. Paul Fix played it in the film.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think who are the other. Well, the people you remember, like the teacher, Mrs. Fern, she was both in the play and in the film.
Yeah.
And Eileen Heckert, who was, amazing.
Yeah. Hortense.
Was in both the play and, the best. That's the best role, I think.
She plays a drunk lady
in the
really
old
good.
Film. So good.
Oh,
so
really good.
Wow. And, and now you've had this just long, pretty busy career here. Have you delved into filmmaking yourself or coming up with your own ideas at all?
I never went there because I think there was a little window of time where I had the opportunity to play around with directing. That I did. Mm-hmm. I did a little something at a theater, and that was enjoyable. But I think what happened was when I'm going to say it's personal, really, because with my kids and being with someone, and it just, I don't know, there wasn't that ambition coming from me to do it.
Sure.
Honestly, and I always, I know I people ask that all the time, but because also the world was a little different back then.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't even realize that. I personally didn't realize that wasn't just being a dilettante, trying to, attempt to do something like that. I think today, with all the women directors and everything, kids coming up as actors have absolute confidence that they could step into that role.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because of the role models, you know?
Yeah.
So I think the time I lived in, although there was Jodie Foster, you know,
Sure,
so
but still,
that's
I mean,
kind of a
yeah.
poor excuse. But,
but no, it was a much more difficult time for women in general back then.
Oh, definitely.
it was different. Yeah. And I guess too, you know, it depends on how you were raised and,
Yeah.
you know, all of that, what you think your potential is. And,
Well, and if you're staying busy as an actress, I mean, I think these days a lot of people turn to directing and producing, not necessarily because they aren't getting acting jobs, but because they want to boost their career in some way to move things along. And yeah, so if you're busy left and right auditioning and being busy as an actress, then there's no real need to branch out.
Yeah.
It's true. I felt that way. I didn't have the need to satisfy that ambition.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
but I noticed that sometimes, trying to think of, I had a thought about it. But anyway,
Yeah.
I think that's the simple answer. I think that's
Yeah, no, it is. And God, you've had this, like I said, been in so many TV series, just been working your entire career. Has it been pretty satisfying for you? And are you glad it's something you've been doing your whole life?
I am. A lot of actors talk about the fact that as we get older, you know, it's the best. At a certain point in our careers, it was a hard time to be in the field. But now as we're getting older, you know, it feels like more work is coming our way.
Yeah, I think it's true.
You get busier. Yeah.
It is. It's great. So it's a good field to be in because you never have to quit. That's what
Exactly.
Oh, I know. It's
You can be an actor until
you die.
Until you die. It's
fall over.
It's something like
yeah.
like I compared to sports, like a basketball player, a baseball player, a football player. They have to retire at some point because their body's just not fit for it.
Yeah.
But as an actress, you can go on forever.
And if you're willing, to be older, you know,
Yep.
and not, and
Not have not be vain about your looks. Not be insulted about having to play the 80-year-old woman, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Former beauty, those kind of things.
Yes.
or the psychiatrist of the girl that you played, of the bad seed of Emma.
Which I do want that to bring us back around to the new film coming out, because it was an amazing film. And usually I got to admit that I'm not like a big watcher of the Lifetime channel or anything having to do with Lifetime. And usually in your mind, you don't think horror and Lifetime in the same sentence. But when I watched the film, it was great. I loved it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
And it's just, as a horror fan, and I'm telling you guys listening to this, because I know a lot of you guys listening to this are going to say, Lifetime? I never watched Lifetime. Well, you should watch this movie because it's... it definitely satisfies.
Yeah.
And
don't automatically post a label on it. Cause it's a really good movie.
So obviously you did a wonderful job, but I just want to ask, how did this whole process begin? Were you did they reach out to you? Was it already well underway, or did they reach out to you early on just to make sure you would be on board because they wanted that kind of tie-in back to the original?
They had thought of two parts. One was the doctor, the psychiatrist, and the other was another one.
Okay.
In that time, I just loved the notion of being the psychiatrist, because that just seems so twisted.
Oh,
twisted
it does. You're helping your former self out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
Yes, very strange.
Yes.
So that seemed right to them too. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what happened. It was really. And I loved the fact that the producer, along with Rob, is Mark Wolper, who was the son of David Wolper, who is if you look him up, he's a huge producer when I was a little person.
Okay.
Okay. Wow.
So Mark Wolper is.
Okay.
It is interesting, and So it feels like we all had a lot of years in the business.
Yeah.
Rob,
Now, did you? Yeah.
Him.
Well,
That's so cool.
And being through this experience again, did you get a lot of, whether it's fellow actors or crew members, just sort of reminiscing or asking you about the 56 version and your involvement with that?
Absolutely. There's so many. Yep. But I feel like we covered more interesting aspects, because sometimes, you repeat. A person will have a repeat of a question, and I think we have some different takes on it, so it's nice. I have to really think about what you asked me. Yeah,
yeah. Well, and what do you think about? I think she did great. McKenna Grace, who reprised your role. Were you satisfied with that performance?
Oh my gosh, working with her, you could see this. She is absolutely so talented. And such a nice kid at the same time,
Sure.
A real, you just know she's going to have if she wants it, she's going to have a long and rich career. She has so many credits now.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But her sweetness and her professionalism and is just really special. I had a short amount of time with her, but just loved her. And I had watched her, actually. I was a fan. I am a fan of Designated Survivor, which is a TV show.
Oh, yeah.
I always watched it.
Yeah.
So, and there she was playing the president's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know until I worked with her that that's who it was. I didn't know.
Oh, really?
I was like, isn't that funny? So, and I know I saw her in I, Tonya.
Yeah, that's right. I saw her in that too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
she's got
still doing more.
Yeah, she's
got
a
more
busy,
going on now.
a busy little girl.
Well, just kind of like you were when you were her age.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it goes full circle that way too.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I know.
And she has that creep factor in this too, like prim, proper, innocent little girl, but you just don't know what's going on behind that.
Never know.
Yeah, just like you in the 1956 version, you were the sweetest little thing, but there was a devil inside there somewhere.
Yeah, it was.
That's true.
It was. Yeah, she had a great performance. All in all, I think this new version was very well acted. Of course, you have Rob Lowe, who everyone knows and loves, and even Sarah Dugdale as the babysitter did a wonderful job too. And
yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah.
And she was kind of, she sort of serves, I guess, if they. As Leroy, I think, in a funny way, because she baits Emma, and reads Emma correctly. And that's kind of the relationship that Rhoda had with Leroy, who was the handyman.
Yeah.
So all the genders got flipped.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a great dynamic because it's almost as if the babysitter is knows the mind of the little girl, but not to how far she'll take things. And so you're right. So she's baiting her this whole time, not thinking, having an inkling that she'll actually act upon these, desires to kill people.
Yeah. And that's
absolutely.
And that's
Isn't that frightening?
Yeah. That is so frightening. And that's how Roy was too.
Yeah,
the handyman. Like he knows what you're doing. He knows you're behind this murder of Claude, and he thought you used the stick at first, but then he finds out that you used the shoes to do it, and he's on your tail about it, but it doesn't affect you because you just
a little psychopath.
You just call him a liar, you know.
Well, and it's such a scary concept because even back then, well, even still today. You sort of want to believe what a child says first. If there's some kind of legal discrepancy or a court of law, you're sort of going to believe what the child says.
Absolutely right. Yep, that's true. Yeah. Because in the old days, that didn't always happen. So today, everybody's so conscious about listening. Listening to your child and what they tell you about a situation, and
Sure.
So the dilemma for Rob Lowe's character is even more intense
It is.
because he was, you know. Yeah.
And I really like the direction they take with that at the end, where and we won't give away any endings or anything, but just sort of how he just the way that he deals with the situation and possibly almost accepts it and has to deal with it then. So it's a ride.
I don't know if I'm telling stories out of school, but you asked earlier if he wrote anything.
Yes.
And I remember him not being happy with the original ending, the way it turned, and then he found a way to make it work.
Oh,
so
okay.
I know that he did that. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, the concept was there already, but the way he framed it was different than the original.
Okay.
So,
so
that's kind of fun. Maybe if you ask him, he'll tell you.
Oh, it is a quite a wild ride with an awesome ending. So keeps you guessing. So you guys have to check it out for sure. Now, did this? Are you in general at all like a fan of psychological horror or horror in general, or is this sort of out of the box for you?
Psychological horror, yes.
Okay.
Sure. I also love political, creepy things like,
conspiracies and things like that.
Yes, exactly. I love stuff like that.
Thrillers, suspense.
Thrillers. I love thrillers.
Yeah.
Good murder mysteries, love them.
Yeah.
Sure. Not so much for the blood and gore.
Not so much for the blood, because I know. I would say I hate to shut that down, but
no worries.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. There might have been a couple.
I certainly.
No, I was going to say there might have been a couple scenes in this new one that you had to just, not watch too closely.
Yeah, and I've worn my share of the strawberry jam. That.
Yeah. I bet you have.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because with blood and gore, you get the suspense, you get the thriller, you get the mystery. So. But yeah,
and I never hesitate to do one, so.
It's so great.
I've done quite a few,
Yeah. Well, that's so. What? You have this coming out. Obviously, September 9th is when this will premiere on Lifetime. You have The Bad Seed, and are you working on anything else you'd like to share with everybody at the moment?
Oh, okay. Well, there is something showing on Netflix, and it's called House of Deadly Secrets.
Oh, okay.
And it's fun. You'll enjoy it.
Okay.
And talk about little horror going on in there.
Oh, nice. I like that title.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I think you're going to like it a lot, actually. There's comedy in it, too, but,
Sure.
But,
okay.
Comedy and horror go good together, so.
I had the best time doing it. I did it. I had the best time doing it. I'm trying to think of, I know what I did. That was different. I did 7 episodes. That's what I mean. The work is so varied. It's crazy.
Yes.
But I did 7 episodes of General Hospital.
Yes, I just saw that. Yeah.
Recently.
Wow.
And in the absence of one of the characters who had something happen to her. And so anyway, I filled in and had such a good time. They, I really did.
And how different is the day-to-day operations on a soap opera than in a normal TV series? Are they pretty similar?
No, they're very different.
Really?
Actually, yeah. And I did soaps younger, and in those days they were different from today. And pretty much today, what happens is you come in, there's a lot of dialogue, and you come in and you block. And then you usually go to makeup and get dressed, and then you go in and you rehearse it once and you shoot it.
Wow. It's just done like that.
Bada bing.
Wow.
Yeah, you're on your toes,
Yeah.
But it's very fun, and you get, wonderful actors. They're great actors on that show.
Yeah.
And they were welcoming, which was nice,
That's always good.
That was good. But anyway.
That's an experience. Wow. Yeah.
Yep. And I got to be very glamorous because, they make you up so well, and
Yeah,
your
yeah,
clothes
have to
are
look good.
amazing.
Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah.
So you're in Los Angeles right now?
I am.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Nice. Okay, great.
And is that at what point did you make the move to Los Angeles?
Oh boy. Well, I've done it a couple of times actually.
Okay.
I came out when I was in my early 20s, and then there was a period of time after my 2 kids were born. We went back and I did a soap in New York.
Oh.
And I lived there for a while, and then we came back out here and pretty much settled here,
Okay.
because it was easier with my children, and just living was easier out here.
Yeah.
At that time.
Sure. Yeah. That's probably
little
getting
more
a little more hectic
complicated in New
now.
Yeah, a lot of the
Yeah.
work is
Oh, yeah.
there too, and it's easier to get to the jobs and stuff there.
Yeah.
and
Now, did
whatnot.
your children have any interest in the acting biz?
in the arts?
They my daughter was really a good actress. She but didn't want to do it after she attended a class and didn't love it.
Yeah, you gotta love it.
Yeah, you gotta love it. And then and so there and my son loves music, plays music personally, but he doesn't make his living that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
So-
that's great. Oh,
Yeah. So neither one is in the booth.
yeah. Well, that's good.
Yep.
You gotta let them choose for themselves, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, cool. Well, I think, gosh, I went through my list here. I'm trying to think if I just had any other burning questions about the bad seed here. But all in all, like I said, it's a great movie.
Yeah, and we don't want to give too much away.
Yeah.
I just love the original. So it's just as captivating as the original, guys. I think you're going to love it. So definitely go out there and watch it on Lifetime when it comes out.
September 9th. So
we should cover the bad seed on our show.
yeah, the original.
The original.
Yeah. So I don't know. Normally, Patty, we do. We have one other guy who couldn't be with us today, but we all watch an old horror movie and then we, talk about it for an hour, and that's our normal episode. So we'll have to cover that one at some point.
Yes, we will.
All right. Okay, great.
But well, great. Well, I want to thank you for joining us once again. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
You too.
And
Very nice. Has it been an hour already?
Well, it's been about 42 minutes, and I guess she told me to we were told to maybe do around 45. So
Okay.
so we'll.
Great.
It's gone by quick.
It has
Jeez.
gone by
It's
quick.
already been that long.
And
Jeez.
I hate
for
to.
me.
Yeah. But no, it's been great. So
You were so great. Yes.
so definitely check the film out. It's going to be out on Lifetime September 9th. So everyone mark your calendars. I know that we'll be checking it out live. So, but great. Patty, yes, thanks again. And just everyone keep up with Patty on IMDb. Check out her future projects and check out some of the TV series she's been in.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot.
And then go on Netflix and check out what's the name of that one on Netflix again that's out right now?
Oh, it's called House of Deadly Secrets.
House of Deadly Secrets. That's right. I'm going to go watch that too.
Yep.
So
Okay.
definitely check
It's a
that out.
hard title to remember. House of
Deadly
House of
Secrets.
Deadly Secrets. Got it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Patty.
Thank you.
Thanks,
yes,
Patty.
Yes, and everyone listening, thank you as well.
Thank you, guys.
We'll catch you next time.
Thanks.
Don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.